How are you, child of God? This is the Remnant Seed Bible Study channel. Today's subject is the parable of the fig tree. I want to just do a short, condensed version of this just to show you the significance of this prophecy by Jeremiah and Christ himself. And the fig tree, as it's used here, the fig tree. The first time the fig tree was used, it was in the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve sewed these fig aprons over their private parts when they realized what they had done. And I think there's a lot more to the fig tree. I think there's a deeper meaning to it. It means things that are hidden. And I've never heard the parable of the fig tree actually taught properly by any teacher, but it's just one of those things. To me, it's like it's plain as day. It's just glaringly obvious to me. And it's in Mathew 24 or Jeremiah 24. I mean, the same chapters. Isn't that funny? Anyway, Christ said this generation will not pass until all things be fulfilled, okay? And we are that. 1948 was a major benchmark in Christian history, and I'm going to show this to you today. So let's jump right into this, beloved. I believe time is short. This is for your edification, my Christian brothers and sisters. And if you understand the two separate conquest and subsequent dispersals of the 10 northern tribes first, and second, the 2 southern tribes of Judah and Benjamin, then this prophecy will be understood by you. This is the essence of the parable of the fig tree, beloved, what's contained in these 2 chapters. And the captivity was roughly in the year 587 BC. So it's been around 2,600 years since the tribe of Judah and Benjamin were taken into captivity, and then their land given back to them today as a nation state of Israel. That's a long time, beloved. But God said it would happen, and look, it's happened. And then also the 10 northern tribes were taken into captivity roughly 2,800 years ago. This is 200 years before the southern tribes of Benjamin and Judah were taken into captivity. And a lot of people don't recognize this, that there were 2 separate captivities of the 12 tribes of Israel, but it's true, beloved. And it's my belief that all of the tribes are present in the land of Israel and not just the tribe of Judah. And then also, we have the bad figs, which are representative. I'll show you who those represent. And that's something else you need to understand, that there were good and bad figs planted in Israel in the year 1948, just like they were back in that day. The Nethinim, they followed them all the way through the wilderness, and when Ezra and Nehemiah were coming out of Babylon, they realized they didn't have one Levitical priest with them, and they were all Nethinim. So these people had been creeping around behind the scenes, claiming to be of our brother Judah and even the other tribes, and they're not, and they're liars, and they're of the synagogue of Satan. And Revelation will bring this forward, beloved. And that's another important thing I want you to understand in this. So let's go to Jeremiah 24:1. And the Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set out before the temple of the Lord after that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah, with the carpenters and smiths from Jerusalem, and brought them into Babylon. This is when they were taken into captivity, beloved, by the king of Babylon. And this is the captivity. And this is what we're talking about. And this came about because they were just completely in disobedience. And God told them, I'm going to scatter you. You're going to go into captivity. And you're not going to get this land back for thousands of years. And that's exactly what happened. Now, one basket had very good figs, even like the figs that are first ripe. And the other basket had very naughty figs, which could not be eaten. They were so bad. And we have the Smyrna fig and the Capri fig here represented, beloved. And this is when you get into, horticulture. And good and bad figs represent the two true tribes of Israel and those who claim to be, but they are liars. So the good figs are the true tribes of Israel, including Judah. And the bad figs are those who claim to be of our brother Judah, and they're not, and they do lie, and they're of the synagogue of Satan. And this is found in Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9. And the church of Philadelphia and Smyrna recognized who these jokers were. And that's part of the key of David, beloved. When you have the key of David, you're able to distinguish the genealogies of these two. And they're the sons of Cain. You can trace them all the way back to what happened in the Garden of Eden. And then also the generations of Adam, all the way up to Christ. You are able to rightly divide these two, the good and the bad figs. This is the key of David. And when you have this key, it unlocks a lot of scriptures for you that many men and many people will not understand. That's why you're able to open doors that no man can open, and you're able to close doors that no man can close. This gives you a big advantage over the rest of Christianity once you realize this. Okay, then said the Lord unto me, what seest thou, Jeremiah? And I said, figs, the good figs very good, and the evil very evil, that cannot be eaten, they are so evil. And this is all in a metaphor, beloved. And this is explaining what I just told you. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord God, the God of Israel, like the good figs, so will I acknowledge them that are carried away, captive of Judah, whom I have set out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. And God did this because of their disobedience, but this was for their own good, so that they would come back to Him, beloved. This is the way God operates. He will chastise those He loves, and I'm a good example of that, beloved. I mean, He has chastised me many, many times in my life, but one thing I always did is I kissed the paddle, and I acknowledged what I had done wrong. And that's one thing I can say about myself, beloved. I've been rebellious a lot of my life, but these last 10 years, I've been on the path of the straight and narrow, beloved, and I love the Lord with all my heart. Then said the Lord unto me, okay, I already went over that one. Let's go over verse 4 here. And again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, like these good figs, so I will acknowledge them. I already read that too. Okay, here we are, verse 6. I'm sorry, beloved. And this is speaking about after the Lord has punished them for the length of time that He has determined. This is what He says, for I will set my eyes upon them for their good, and I will bring them again to this land, and I will build them, and I will not pull them down, and I will plant them and not pluck them up. Now this is the prophecy that the Lord is saying after they go into captivity, after so many years, and it's been over 2,000 years, beloved, the Lord will plant them back in this land once again. And that's what happened in 1948, beloved. Make no mistake. This is the parable of the fig tree. The Lord is saying He will gather them back and plant them in their own land in the latter days. And this is 1948. This is a major benchmark, beloved. This is what happened. And I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, for they shall return unto me with their whole heart. And as the evil figs which cannot be eaten, they are so evil, surely thus saith the Lord, so will I give Zedekiah the king of Judah and his princes and the residue in Jerusalem that remain in this land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt. And we're going back again to the captivity in the beginning of this prophecy. Now, Zedekiah was the last king before the captivity of Judah. And the residue and the evil figs were also planted, that are spoken of here in the before time, were also planted in Israel in 1948. They're still there to this day, and they were back then, beloved. And I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt. And this is going back to the captivity and the dispersal. And to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all places, whither I shall drive them. And have you ever wondered why there is so much persecution of the tribe of Judah, and for that matter, all the other 11 tribes, beloved? This is the definition of the anti-Jewish sentiment that has existed in the world, all over the world. And this was brought on by the Lord because of their disobedience. And I will send the sword and the famine and the pestilence among them till they be consumed from off the land that I gave them to them and their fathers. Now this is the land that Lord gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, beloved, and nobody else. And don't let anybody tell you any different. The Lord gave this to them. And Joshua was come into this land, and he was told by the Lord to cleanse it and basically kill every last person that was in this land when they came to claim the land of Israel, when it was originally given to them by God. But God basically took them out of this land because of their disobedience and the way that they just completely disobeyed our Father. And this punishment is rather harsh, beloved, but this is what happens when you go into disobedience and complete rebellion against our Father. He's going to punish you. Now let's go forward to the parable of the fig tree stated by Christ. It's found in Mathew 24:32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. Christ didn't say, maybe you ought to get around to it, or, sometime in the future, and hee-haw around this. He said, now learn it. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. And this is saying that harvest time is in the summer, and harvest time is the end, beloved. This is speaking about the end times, the last days. This is a direct reference by Christ to the end times, the days before his second coming. And when you see Israel become a nation state again, know that the end is near, beloved. 1948 is the last generation. Summer is the time of the end times harvest. The branch was made tender in 1948 when Israel became a nation state again, as Jeremiah prophesied. The fig tree is started with a shoot and not a seed, and that's why it's called tender. That means it's a young shoot. And we're already past the 70-year mark when the shoot was planted out in Jerusalem in 1948. And a biblical generation could be 40, 70, or 120 years. And I believe this is going to come to pass sooner than many think, beloved. So, and then let's move on to Matthew 24:33. So likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors, talking about the second coming and the end of time. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. That's one of my favorite verses. Now Christ is telling us that when Israel became a nation state again, that it would be the last generation before his second coming. There's no doubt that 1948 was a major benchmark in Christian history. This is the generation of the fig tree, beloved. And these are the two verses, Genesis 3:7. This is speaking about the fig leaves that Adam and Eve sowed over themselves. And then here's another reference to the Antichrist fallen from the heaven to the earth. And the fig, again, is used. And I believe Satan is one of these naughty figs. And and the stars of heaven fell to the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And this is speaking about the Antichrist as the false Messiah who will come before the second coming of Christ, beloved. And I just thought I'd throw this in there as using the fig tree. And the fig tree is used a lot throughout the Bible. And I believe it's things that are hidden. And these are the verses that explain who the bad figs are right here, beloved. Revelation 3:9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews. These are the evil figs spoken of by Jeremiah, beloved. Make no mistake about it. And are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Okay? And Revelation 2:9, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and they're not, and they're of the synagogue of Satan. Again, beloved, this is a direct reference to the evil figs that are spoken of by Jeremiah the prophet. They're so naughty they can't be eaten. And guess why? Because they claim to be of our brother Judah, and they're not, and they're liars. Okay, now this is part of the key of David that Smyrna and Philadelphia had. And these are the two churches that, beloved, that Christ found no fault with these two churches, the church of Smyrna and Philadelphia. Look at it. And it's because they had the key of David. They knew the genealogy of Christ. They know the genealogy of the Kenites and the house of Rechab. The evil figs. They're so naughty they can't be eaten. And they're responsible for the death of the prophets between the porch and the altar. Okay? They have caused havoc throughout the world. And when you know who they are, you're able to you can point them out. And these are the terrors. These are the Zuwan, the evil seed that was planted in the dead of night by Satan himself. Through Eve, and Cain was born. These are the evil children, the sons of Cain, the sons of the devil. They are the evil, naughty figs, okay? This is all part and parcel of the parable of the fig tree, beloved. You must understand this. And these evil figs are at work in the world today, and especially they're at work in Israel right now, beloved. They are responsible for a lot of the havoc that we see going on in the earth today. But I wanted to do this shorter version. I've already done a longer work on the parable of the fig tree, and it goes into great detail. But I hope this clears it up for you, beloved. Make no mistake, we are the last generation. And that's the end of this lecture. And much love from me to you, and we'll see you on the next one. I love you, beloved.